we wanted to pull off a heist in our shows, right? Like that was just a nice concept we had. We said, we want to pull off a heist. And originally we started talking about having lasers across the stage and the imagery of like blueprints and all of the imagery behind the heist is really nice to look at. And there's a lot of theming that goes with it. At the start of the show, we hand out a box and we say that the contents of the box will be very important to 3 people in the audience. Towards the end of the show, we borrow 3 items. We borrow a ring, phone, and someone's driver's license. We hold them all in our hands. And then they all vanish, one after the other. Starting with the driver's license. The driver's license vanish, the ring vanishes, and the phone vanishes. And then we said at the start of the show, we said the contents of that box will be very important. Box comes back up on stage. We open it up, and inside is a sealed mailbag. And inside that is a sort of concertina, which opens up with the ring, the driver's license, the phone. Without any switches, these are then handed back to 3 audience members. And it's such a big kind of now you see me moment. And I think the Items to Impossible location is one of the best plots in Magic. It's so easy to understand. Something vanishes and it's inside a box.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Desert Island Tricks. Another guest is waiting, this time just back from a cruise ship. That's because today's guest is someone making a huge name for himself on the cruise ship circuit. If you follow him on social media, you'll see, I was just talking to him, you'll see that there has been such a huge change in his style and his career over, I would say, sort of the last 4 to 5 years. And he's done some incredible things considering his age. He has consulted for Dynamo with Beyond Belief. He has been on Penn and Teller Fool Us. He has had incredible hit shows like The Magic Hangover, which had 5-star reviews, Drunk Magic, and is currently working on a show called Insane Magic, which I'm sure we'll get into. And now you'll see him all over his socials. I never know where in the world he's going to be from one day to the next because he's always on a cruise ship somewhere. He's doing an incredible job on the cruise ships, and I know it's going to be such an interesting list. I think it's going to be different to what a lot of us think this person is going to put out, especially considering the books that he's put out and the style of Magic that he's put out in the past. I think where he is now is a lot different, so I think we're going to have a really interesting list, especially for those who are going to be playing Luke Oseland Bingo. Of course, today's guest is the wonderful Luke Oseland. Hello, Luke.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. Glad to finally have you here. You're another guest. I say it every week. We've been trying to get you on for ages, but like I say, you are everywhere all of the time.
Yeah, I quite like that. I quite like the fact that no one knows where I am at any one point. It's good. It's good to not be available, you know. That's a natural thing, I think. I think too many people nowadays, you're so easily available through social media or whatever. It's quite fun when no one knows where I am or where I live or anything. I like that. It's nice.
You make me think we should do a version of like Magician Hunted, you know, like Celebrity Hunted, but just Magician Hunted.
I'd be pretty good at it. I wouldn't have to do anything. I could just stay in my flat and no one would find me.
Everything that you've done over the past 5 years and where you are now is very different to what you were sort of known for. Whereas now you just seem to be predominantly sort of Edinburgh Fringe. You've done a lot of stuff with, and now you're smashing it on the cruise ships.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a jump that no one, especially not myself, was expecting. I obviously put out a lot of, for anyone that doesn't know me, I used to put out a lot of magic tricks. And when I say a lot, I mean like, I think I've got 60 or 70 published magic effects on the market, whether it be through a membership or a physical product or a download or a lecture or whatever. And that was my bread and butter, was doing these, producing effects and doing lectures and more social media consultancy and stuff like that. And then I think when the pandemic hit, I realized actually how important that sort of human connection was. And I think because it was taken away so quickly, I really wanted to get into performing for real people as opposed to performing on a camera or something when there's no connection there. And I realized how important that was. And then just really, really loved it, got a performing bug. And then before you know it, I was doing 150 shows a year, which has been really fun. And I enjoy it. It's the best job in the world.
I mentioned earlier on, obviously, that you have the series of shows, the Magic Hangover, Drunk Magic, and Say Magic, where you are now. What's that journey been like? So have you used the Edinburgh, things that you've learnt at Edinburgh on the cruise ship? Is that how you sort of transitioned over?
Yeah, absolutely. Fringe is definitely was a catapult for me performing, I think. I think because there's nowhere else where you can get so much stage time. Now, I'd been obsessed with the idea, as when I was a creator, I was obsessed with the idea of doing a one-man show at some point, just to see if I could do it. And the whole plan was I'd do the Edinburgh Fringe once, see how I liked it. And if I liked it, I'd carry on being a performer. If I didn't, I could go back to publishing effects and stuff like that. And I think initially I decided to do this show called Drunk Magic. I started writing it when I was actually like 16 or 17. And then 2 years later or so, I think I was 19 or 20 when I first did it. We did this show. The problem is I can't really do that show anymore. The premise of the show was I would have a few drinks before I'd go on stage, and I'd have a few drinks during being on stage. And in the same sort of, excuse my French, but I'm quoting, in the same way that shit-faced Shakespeare does their shows, they have one cast member get drunk and the rest of them have to improvise around it. The difference was it was only me on stage. It was a one-man show and I was getting drunk and doing the stuff. Now, the show I think was good. I don't know. I think when I look back at it, I think it was really bad because of where I am now. But I think anyone would do that 3-4 years down the line. But I think at the time for what I was doing, it was probably quite good, even though it was just me doing a bunch of tricks a little bit tipsy. And I do think that I sort of used maybe the alcohol as a bit of Dutch courage or leverage to get me on stage as well. So I think at the time it's probably the right thing to do. I can't do that show anymore. I couldn't go out and I wouldn't want to get drunk before going on stage. Like, that's just not part of me. Like I will never have like more than one drink maybe before going on stage, unless that's the premise of the show I'm doing. So it's not really something I do anymore. And also just actually, I'm getting older now. Drinking every day isn't really something I want to do. Especially because I was going out like every night. And not that you don't do that during the Fringe, but it was definitely a bit much. But the shows we do now are, the main one is Insane Magic. So there's 3 of us in that show, myself, Cameron Gibson and Elliot Bibby. We've done that show for 3 years now, I believe. And it gets bigger and better every month, but every year really, when we bring it back to the Fringe, we scale it up. So we started, downstairs, underground in a nightclub, performing for like 100 people each night. And we sold out the first year we did it, and then we did another year in a similar size venue. And then this year we did it in a 300-seater, and we pretty much sold out the whole thing, which was unheard of at the Edinburgh Fringe. We actually make money at the Edinburgh Fringe, which is also a crazy thing to say. So we do that. That's our main sort of show that we do. And then this year at the Fringe, I also had a show called The Magic Hangover, because I still wanted to do a bit of like a risque show. I quite like this sort of whole late night comedy idea, like adults only. Not to say it's offensive, but definitely adults only, I think. Whereas Insane is very much family friendly. So I did a show called The Magic Hangover, and the premise of that was I'd woken up on stage after a night out, and the audience had to help me work out what happened the night before. So very similar to the movie The Hangover with magic in it. And that show was really well received. And I think that was definitely the start of a sort of a new style of performing for me. There's a bit of storytelling in it involved, a lot of comedy and a lot of magic. I think one of the most important things to me for an entertainer is to if someone comes out my show and they said that was really funny and the magic was really good, that's all I care about. Like, I think that's the ultimate. People are going to enjoy themselves, right? If there's a bit of storytelling or they learn a bit about you in the show as well, amazing. But yeah, that show is really fun, and I look forward to doing more stuff like that. Although I think I might now start to delve more into the family-friendly route, just because, I don't know, you sell more tickets when you do family stuff, and it's a lot more bookable. So
I knew you a lot for your visual tricks. And certainly I have both of your books, which are Visual AF and Visual AF 2. And they tended to be very social media friendly, very visual, close up, super clever a lot of the time. You have a great Christmas trick, which is great for this time of the year as well, which is funny. How has your shift in performance styles and the shows that you're doing altered this list? Do you reckon that your list would be totally different 5 years ago to now?
Yeah, I think 5 years ago I would have struggled to put together this list. Not saying that I definitely struggled putting it together now, but I think I would have struggled putting it together last time, because I wouldn't know what to put in because I didn't perform. Like I might just put in a bunch of little, as you say, visual tricks that work for social media. And obviously that's not the most workable stuff, and not in the sense that it's impractical, but more it's hard to make a 1 hour show out of 10-second tricks. That's 600 tricks or whatever. So my list has definitely changed. What I will say is that recently in my shows, I definitely brought back some of the visual stuff. I think when I started doing shows, everyone was very much like, oh, this is not what I was expecting from you at all. Like I was just doing the classic, 5-10 minute routines in 50 minutes. Like that was basically my show. And then now there's definitely a lot more woven into it. And one thing which is really important to me is having as many magical moments in a show as possible. So if you came to see like Insane, it's very fast paced. And in my shows as well, there's a lot of magical moments. So even if I'm doing a trick like PK touch, for example, I will, that as me and Cameron were talking about this last night, that as a mentalism routine still has 3 magical moments in it, even though it's only over 10 minutes. Whereas most mentalism, you only get like 1 reveal out of a lot of talking. So it's really important to stack up those moments. And now my PK touch routine has actually about 12 moments of magic within it. And I'm at the moment like constantly working on that routine to see where I can add more moments of magic. So the sort of visual quicker stuff is definitely coming back into it. So I don't actually know how different my list now is from then, but look at my list. There's none of these like quick social media tricks really in the list. So I don't know, maybe before it would have just been a bunch of flap cards or something, but not anymore.
Okay, well, I'm really interested to see where this is going to go. You sort of teased one there, so we may have PK Touch in there, but anyone playing Luke Oseland Bingo, now is your chance to write down your guesses. I spoke to Luke before, and I don't really know where this is going to go. I think we're going to have more stage things, maybe a gag, because I know that you're really good with some of your gag items. Certainly, if you follow Luke on social media, he's got a great microphone prop, which is absolutely superb. So I'm not sure where this is going to go, but let's get into it. So if this is your first time listening, the idea is we're about to maroon Luke on his very own desert island. He's probably going to get a cruise ship there. When he's there, he's allowed to take 8 tricks, banish 1 item, take 1 book and 1 non-magic item that he uses for magic. Particulars, who's there, what's there, all of that good stuff, we do not mind. It's in Luke's own imagination. So that's being said, let's go then now, Luke, and find out what you put in position number 1.
Okay, these are not in any particular order, and actually I've got just a list of like 8 things here. I'm going to pick them off randomly because I don't like the order they're in on my phone. I want to kick things off with Soaring in Half, more as a plot as opposed to a specific model or method of it. But the classic magic trick where someone gets in a box and you saw them in half and you put them back together, I think is just such a simple concept to get behind. When people first started doing it, I think P.T. Selbit was like the first guy to do it and originate it. People were blown away at the fact he was actually cutting someone in half. And I think that mystery of you murdering someone on stage is now lost, and it's now obviously a classic and a stereotype of magic. But there is still other ways, like, Copperfield's buzzsaw illusion, again, is such an amazing image. The Ellick brothers, they're soaring in half with a huge Grim Reaper. Like, I will never get bored of watching someone do a soaring. And there's so many different ways of doing it, so many models and so many different ways it's been presented. I just think it's a really great sort of plot and illusion. And it is genuinely one of my favorite illusions of all time. Whenever we perform it in our show, whenever we do, I come off stage after being like, I tell the audience that's genuinely one of my favorite illusions of all time. We wanted to saw me in half initially. Like that was the whole plan, because there's 3 of us in a show, so it makes sense. I get in a box, and I'm normally if I fit in a box that we have, I'm normally the one in it. So originally I was meant to get in a box and we'd separate it into 2, put them back together. Unfortunately, we bought a Wakeling soaring in half, which is a really good soaring, I think, because it's much more of a puzzle that stays with the audience after the show's finished. A lot of soaring in half, they might just go, oh, well, that's how it works. And it's nice in the moment, but then the more you think about it, you're like, well, that's just how it worked. Whereas the thing about a Wakeling soaring in half, if you haven't seen it, is it all kind of happens undercover and everything is examinable. So the audience members, you get them up on stage, they have a look at everything. You can do it completely surrounded. So if you wanted to, and there's a magician, a Vegas guy, I forget his name, but he actually performs it with 20 people up on stage surrounding this illusion. as I said, everything's like checked out. So anything that people think about in their heads, you immediately disprove. So it becomes so much more of a magic trick throughout the rest of their day or throughout the rest of their year, as opposed to just one visual soaring in the moment, which I think, other soarings like Clearly Impossible is one of my favorites, where you can see through it the entire time. I think is amazing, but actually the longer someone thinks about it, the longer they can come up with their own method. And the method, the way you think a trick works is probably how it works, or at least in the audience's mind, that's good enough for them. If they think they know how it works, they know how it works. It doesn't matter if they don't. Whereas I think that the Wakeling has so many pieces to it. It's so many pieces to a puzzle that it's quite hard to define it. So that's why we went with that one. I'd like to buy another one soon. I'd like to get a Clearly Impossible just to have and just to put into a show. I think it's a lot more flashy though. Whereas when we do it, it's kind of a slower talking piece. It takes about eight minutes, maybe 10 minutes to do that routine, as opposed to just saw in half and then put back together. We talk about it a lot more and how impossible it actually is. But yeah, that's my first desert island trick. Although I don't know how I'd get it there on the island. I don't know who I'd do it with. It would be more just to admire from the corner, I think.
Maybe your luxury item is going to have to be your performing mates. Maybe you're going to have to take them with you.
Yeah, I'd take them with me everywhere. We also, I say this, I realised I said that it would be me getting in a box. I don't fit in that one. We have an assistant as well who's amazing, Laura from America, and she comes and does shows with us. And she's the one that gets in the box. She's great at it. But yeah, she would have to come as well to get in the box. And then Elliot and Cam could come along as well.
It's definitely not one that I had on your list. I'm not going to lie. Soaring in Half was not the one that I was expecting to come out, but a brilliant choice and a really interesting one in at number one. So let's find out where you're going to go with number two. What's in your second spot?
I want to go for any kind of bottle production. So whether it be a splash bottle, or I do a bottle production, which I believe Handsome Jack kind of originated, because there's elements of comedy built into it. And it's a really nice, I have like my own sort of version of it, but it's a really quick, flashy opener. It suits me to be, I always make a bottle of beer appear and I give it to someone in the front row. And that's such a quick way to get the audience on side. I don't think I have to explain anything else about that. I just think it's such a nice, easy to understand trick. You have nothing in and you make a bottle appear. There are a few other versions I need to look into. Like I think Richard Griffin just put one out, which I really like the look of, where you have a sort of see-through mesh handkerchief and then you make a bottle appear. And it looks, if you could get it right and you get the lighting right, it really looks phenomenal. I need to look into that. But yeah, any bottle production, I think it's just such a quick, easy thing to understand. I have seen so many people mess up the balloon one, which I think is really entertaining. But, when it goes right, it goes right. So that's my number two.
Now, is this something that you do on stage and close up? Because it is one of those ones that it sort of just speaks for itself. Like you just mentioned, there's no real introduction needed to it. It just sort of happens. It's almost incidental magic, right? It's just this thing happens.
I've never thought about doing a close-up. I guess I could. My close-up set, which actually I only do like 2 or 3 tricks in my close-up set, and I think they're both on this list. It's very easy to repeat, because most of the time when I'm doing a close-up thing, I don't go off and reset. Like I'm just bam, bam, bam at every table. And I cover as many people as I can in a short amount of time. So I think in the case that there's quite a lot of reset going on. And whatever bottle production you do, some will say it doesn't. I feel like you're always uncomfortable before you do it. You're always a bit like, you can't move as much as you can. And I'm quite an animated person. So even going out onto stage, about to do a bottle production, I'm a bit careful. Whereas normally when I come out on stage, I sprint out on stage and I'm high-fiving people and stuff. And so you do lose that element. And especially when I'm approaching a table, I want to be as free as I can. I don't want to have to worry about where a bottle may come from. So I don't think I would do it in close-up. I might give it a go. Maybe, I think certainly for a top table thing. But also, when you do close-up gigs, people are glancing around, right? People talk when you're visiting another table and they go, "Oh, that's a magician. I wonder if he'll come over here." If they see me do a bottle production, that kind of ruins it. So I don't know if I would do it. I certainly wouldn't do it at every table. Maybe, we'll see. I think, where I would do it, and I have done it, is these gigs which are becoming more and more popular now, where you do magic, like kind of parlor magic, but you do a close-up set for 10 to 20 people, and then you move to a different table and you do the same thing. And I know There's like you obviously have like the Magician's Table in London, and also the Magic Circle have their one. There's one out in New York, but a lot of these gigs are popping up in lots of cities. I do it there, and I have done. I do it in when I did a Magic Circle Secrets thing. I do it there as well. I think it's quite fun to do it for like a group of 10, 20 people, and that also becomes kind of like a set more so than walk around magic. But yeah, I do it there, and I do it in stage shows. I don't do a walk around.
I remember many years ago, David Stone had a wonderful DVD set. DVDs, remember them? And in one of them, he had a bottle production where it was designed for close-up tables, but you stole it from the actual table itself when they were unaware of it. And then I think it either transposed or it changed into his shoe. So then suddenly his shoe would just appear in place of the bottle. And I presume from what you just said, you're using this as an opening routine because you mentioned the running out and high-fiving people.
Yeah, I don't like to be uncomfortable for too long. I don't like things being on my person when I'm on stage either. Like if I hate the idea of having my pockets absolutely filled with stuff. And I always say this, and it always ends up that's what happens anyways. But I'm trying to get out of the habit of having like anything in my pockets. Everything's in a case or it's somewhere easy to grab. So I'm not a huge fan of having like things on me because I like running around a lot and I don't want anything to fall out of anywhere. So it's always an opener. And I only do it in like, when you do ships, you have to do 2 shows. I only do it in one of the shows, just so I'm free of it, and then I can be more animated elsewhere. So yeah, bottle production. I think any drink production really doesn't need to be a bottle production, but any like if you're making a glass of champagne appear or a pint or anything, I think is good. It's just such an easy thing to understand. I talk about there's a few things that I say quite often, and one of them is big, colourful shapes that it's really easy to understand as an audience member, no matter where you're from or your IQ, for example. Seeing a big, colourful shape is very easy to understand. And take splash bottle for example. Blowing up a big balloon is a big, colourful shape, and it's actually quite a nice thing to watch someone do as well. Blowing up a balloon is quite a nice image, and then stabbing it, popping again is a big noise. And then followed by the bottle. So it's like 3 things happening at once. Big, colourful shapes, very noisy. You can be from anywhere and understand that instantly.
Well, in terms of big, colourful shapes, we've got 2 very different ones so far. We've got soaring in half, followed by a bottle production. Very different ends of the spectrum there. So let's go to number 3 then. Let's find out what you put in your 3rd spot. Yeah,
I'm just choosing what I should go for now. I think, let's go for a card trick. I think the best card trick of all time, this is what I've put in my list, I think is Out of This World, where you have an audience member come up on stage, they mix the cards, you mix the cards, and then you hand the pack of cards to them. They deal some of the cards in a red pile, some of them in a black pile, you turn them over, and they've done it perfectly. I think it is such, again, an easy thing to understand for an audience. I think it's fun. I think that there is definitely a difficulty in how to do it so it's not boring, because it's quite a long process. I think I do it pretty well, and I think it's quite entertaining when I do it. But if you can find a way that it works, I think that is one of the best and easiest to understand card tricks of all time. And it feels so fair. You don't do anything, right? You're completely hands off. So yeah, and I do that in my stage shows, and I do it in my close-up sets as well. It's great. It's really great.
I think it's a wonderful routine, and it's one of the very few card tricks where, like you just mentioned, the focus is all on the participant. It's not really about the performer. It's not about them at all. It's about the experience of the audience member in that moment. Now, is this something that, again, you've somehow found a way to adapt this to stage, or is this one of the 2 that you said you always do walk around?
Yeah, I don't do this at every table walk around. When I do walk around, I have 2 sets. I have my A set and my B set, and once I've sort of covered everyone with my first set, then I go off for a couple of minutes. I take out of my pockets a couple of things, and I put back a couple of things, and I go out and do my B set for my favourite sort of tables, and the tables that I think responded to Magic the best. I'll then go out. I'll do a couple of card tricks with a real pack of cards. I might do like an ace production really quickly, put those cards down and use them for them to deal piles onto. But it's very, I'd say I maybe do it once, maybe twice at a close-up gig throughout a couple of hours. I do it on stage. I do it. I occasionally get booked for these like parties where you're doing tricks to maybe 10 people. And they ask you to do a 45-minute show. I really enjoy those. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's so intimate as well. And I do it there. I have someone come up and do it. And I do it on stage. I do it with a camera, so with live feed camera. I get a kid from the audience. If it's an early show, if it's a late show, I get a very drunk adult because it's the same thing. And I put them on a chair and I have them sit down and I sort of teach them how to shuffle a pack of cards. And that's the motivation for shuffling the deck. And then we do the trick and then the kid takes a big bow. And it's a really nice moment for the kid. And as you said, all of the, I guess, energy is the right word to use for it, is on the kids, right? That's what people care about. I don't take any credit for it. It's the kid that's been amazing, not me. And it gives the kid a really nice moment. It gives the audience a nice moment. The kid will be talking about it for years as well. So yeah, I do it in stage shows. I do it sometimes in close-up, but mainly stage. I think Ryan Tricks, out of all people, might have been the first person to show me Out of This World in a sense that wasn't... I remember at the Young Magicians Club seeing a lot of people do it in like Member of the Month. And I think I disregarded it for ages. And then I saw Ryan do it just to some random person at a pub. And I thought about it, I was like, that actually is a really good trick. And you kind of, there's a lot of card tricks, especially, that you forget about. And this is one that just I'd forgotten about for years and years. And I saw him do it. I thought, wow, that actually is a really good one. So I sort of picked up the handling from him. I remember Harry de Cruz showed me someone's handling and it was great. And I can't remember exactly whose handling it was. But I remember that being and I should probably talk to him and learn it because it was really good.
Amazing. Well, that's a great choice in at number 3. Let's move swiftly on to number 4. So what's in your 4th spot?
This has to be on everyone's list. Double cross. It's just one of the most powerful tricks of all time. It's so easy to understand. For me, a good trick is something that people can tell their friends happened within one sentence. And double cross is just so easy to understand. Doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter what age you are. The idea of a cross going from your hand to their hand or someone's hand to their hand is so easy to understand. And it's just such a powerful piece of magic. A lot of people argue it's overused. Most people I perform magic to have never seen magic before live ever. And you'll find this, most people that you perform to, they've never seen magic before. So I don't think it actually matters. It does mean that the chances are, if they've seen 2 magicians in their life, they might have seen you do someone do his trick. But that's so rare. And I think that the cost of not doing it outweighs the cost of one person in a group of 100 people maybe seeing it before, you know? I don't mind. If someone says they've seen it before, I say, oh yeah, it might have been one of my colleagues or one of my acquaintances. It's such a powerful trick. And that only credits you, I think, further as well, especially if that person was a good magician. So yeah, I think it's really good. And everyone does it. All the top pros will say, oh no, too many people do it. They don't, they're lying. They all still do it. And they're just saying that so that more people don't do it. And they want to keep it for themselves. Once I've made the X vanish from my hand and I've signaled that it's gone to their hand, I don't say anything. I sometimes, if they haven't opened a hand yet, I sometimes just say, surely not. And that's enough for them to go like, well, yeah, surely not. They open their hand. And I think that's quite funny. But it's my quick 1 minute opener, really.
Well, that's all it needs. It's another one. It's a bit like your bottle production in that it just talks for itself, right?
Yeah.
The good thing about it, I actually remember first seeing this trick. It was Dave Loosely showing it to a non-magic friend of mine in Alakazam years ago. And as soon as I saw what was about to happen, it was probably one of the only times since I've been in magic where something inside me just went, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's one of the best tricks you can do. I don't think I could probably count on my hand the times that I've left the house without it. Like it's insane. It's always in my pocket. I've gone through so many of them. Like I've gone through 4 or 5. Anytime I have a big trip coming up. So for example, we're going out to Adelaide in Australia in February. We do it every year. We go out to Adelaide for the Adelaide Fringe Festival for a couple of months. And then we go to Bali for a week after as well, like on the way home. I've done it for the last 2 years. We're doing it again this year. Well excited. And anytime a trip like that comes up, I buy a new double cross as like a present to myself because I take at least 2 with me because if I lose it, I'm going to be sad. And it comes out everywhere with me. It's such a good icebreaker as well. I do a lot of, and I have done quite a lot of like solo traveling. So where you go out to a hostel or to a hotel on your own and you just meet people there. And people always ask, like, what do you do? And I say, I'm a magician. I need something really quick to show them to sort of stop that conversation quickly. Because I'm not there to talk to people about magic. I'm there to talk about them or whatever, or the islands that we're on. And double cross is something which gives you just really quick credibility to, okay, you're quite good. And it gives that also believability that you do this professionally, because I find that if I've just met someone for the first time and I tell them I'm a magician, they just don't believe you, right? It's like saying you're a dolphin instructor, right? People don't think it's a real job. So I need something really quickly to give me that credibility, and double cross does just that. So it's always in my pocket. And that reminds me, I do need to buy another one, maybe from Alakazam, we'll see. But yeah, I'm currently like, there's a set of drawers next to my desk right now where it has all my gigging stuff. And there's a bunch of like double cross gimmicks. Apparently you can refill them. I never have. I think for the people say it's expensive as well. It's not. When you realize how powerful it is, I don't think it is. And when I think about how much I use it, I don't think it's expensive. I've been through maybe 5 of them, maybe 6. And every Blackpool, I buy a couple more, and I probably buy a few throughout the year as well, maybe, I guess, as well. But yeah, it's a great trick, and it deserves its place. I imagine a lot of people say that, though. I imagine a lot of people put this in their top 8.
I think we've had it a decent amount of time, but I don't think more than maybe 20 people. So we're still safe performing it. Don't worry. We're still doing okay with it. But I think that's an absolute brilliant choice. I think it's one of the most phenomenal tricks to come out over the past, 10 years. It's just such a great trick and a great entry in at number 4. So let's find out where you're going to go with number 5. What's in your 5th spot, Luke?
We'll stick with the close-up stuff for a minute. And I do this routine in my close-up set, which I just call my blank deck routine. And it's a routine that I do with a double blank pack of cards. I do it on stage sometimes as well. It's a good 5-minute kind of spot. It is effectively a routine with one signed blank card that is just jam-packed with magical moments. And I mean, I'll probably lecture this routine at some point, but I don't know, because I'm really protective over it, and I don't want anyone else to do it really. So maybe I'll leave it until I retire it. But it is a routine which basically incorporates all of the best card tricks with a signed card that you can imagine into one routine. And a blank deck lends itself in movements and motion in sleights to make a lot of the sleights much easier, which I think as a close-up performer is good to do, so I can really focus on the people and my sort of banter with them as opposed to the actual trick. I want to make the tricks easy so I can focus on entertaining people. So yeah, this routine, not saying that it's easy or anything, but the sleights definitely lend themselves to using this specific pack of cards. It's just this routine with, and I won't go into what the tricks are exactly, but I truly think some of the best pieces of card magic and moments in magic are incorporated into this routine. It resets itself. It is just like a really commercial routine that I love, and I hold it very close to my heart. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't really explain too much more about it because I don't want a bunch of people going to do it. But yeah, my blank deck routine is definitely, that's probably number 1 for me. Like that's the most crucial thing for me that I would take with me.
Amazing. Well, I think that sounds really interesting. We have had a couple of blank deck routines mentioned on the podcast. Namely, we had Point Blank by Greg Wilson from Pyrotechnic Pasteboards. But there's not a huge amount of blank deck routines around. What made you go for this over a normal deck?
I think it was Simon Lipkin that showed me at first that he used blank decks for a number of tricks, which is really interesting. And I looked into it more, and I actually realized that for an audience member, and especially the audiences that I perform to, that happen to be, if I'm at a stage show, it's like all families and stuff. A lot of the kids don't understand packs of cards, whereas a blank deck, it's either blank or it has writing on it. Like there's only 2 things to see there. So it's really easy to understand for a kid. And then when I'm doing walk around, I quite often do like cocktail parties and stuff. So same thing, I'm in a low light environment. A little bit of writing on a blank card is so easy to see and understand. There's no memory work involved, right? As I said, like the card either has something on it or it doesn't. It's just so easy to understand. And as I said quite a lot during this, like colorful shapes and clarity to me is so important. Like that the audience understands exactly what's happening. I think if you do a trick and they don't really know what's happened, there's no point in doing the trick, right? Like I'm there to give people the best magic possible. And for me, having clarity with all of these effects and not complicating anything is really important. So yeah, that's why I use blank cards.
Well, I think that sounds really interesting, and hopefully one day we'll all get that on a lecture or a project, because I would love to see it.
Hello guys, I'm here to talk to you about Alakazam Unlimited. This is the best streaming platform in the world, I'm telling you now. With Alakazam Unlimited, you get access to over 150 magic routines. This is video performances and explanations. We have card magic, coin magic, kids magic, rope magic, mentalism, stage, parlor, impromptu. We've got you covered. All of this for the low price of just £4.99 a month. And you can cancel at any time. Perfect if you've got commitment issues. Yes, I'm talking to you. Guys, you are going to absolutely love it. If you haven't joined the platform already, what the heck are you doing? Alakazam Unlimited is a streaming platform that you need to be a part of. Not only that, there is also exclusive content only available on the platform. Check it out now, alakazam.co.uk. Cheers.
And it does lead us sort of towards the tail end. So we've got 3 more to go. Now, so far, you've given us a good array of variety here. You know, you've gone from soaring in half, which is this huge illusion, to out of this world. And I mean, even the 2 playing card tricks that you've got there. So you've got out of this world and a blank deck routine feel completely different. This... I mean, not that you would do soaring in half and a blank deck routine and the same set, but this, in terms of a set, is super diverse. So I'm really interested to see what you've got in your last 3 spots. So what did you put in number 6?
So number 6 is a trick which I've been performing, I found out recently, for almost 10 years. So 10 years ago was probably the first time I performed for a real audience. And I have a video actually, which I can send you to put somewhere in this podcast. Actually, yeah, no, can we do? I'll send it to you straight after the podcast. We can edit in a clip of me doing this trick 10 years ago, maybe.
Keep thinking of that drink. Don't make yourself forget it. On a count of 3, nice and loudly into the microphone, you're going to name out loud the drink. 3, 2, 1.
Orange juice.
Orange juice.
So that was me 10 years ago performing. I don't know who originated this concept, but I certainly learned it from Kieran Johnson's Too Hot to Handle DVD. So that's what's coming in at number 6. This idea of having a different drink inside a can of something. So there's been so many versions of this on the market. I think Cansposed was another one that David Penn put out. I believe it was David Penn, I'm not sure, or just World Magic Shop. The idea of having a different drink inside something. Kieran was the first person, I think, to do it with a hot drink inside a cold can, which is such an amazing moment, having them hold on. They think of a drink, tea, let's say, they hold onto a can and the can's hot. Like, that's just insane. As I said, I've been doing this for 10 years. Even though I haven't been a performer for 10 years, I dabbled in doing a couple of talent shows or whatever when I was a kid. And definitely in my professional working career over the last 3 or 4 years, I think this trick has made it into every show I do almost. And I still do it in my cruise ships and everything today, although it's part of a much longer routine, which we're actually releasing a version of. Me and my friends who have been working on this routine a little bit, we're releasing a version of this routine because I'm not performing it. Well, I might start cutting it out of my show, I think, because I've been doing it for so long. But it's a really fun routine. And I have my own method of making these cans with different drinks inside them, which I think we'll teach as well with Kieran's blessing. But yeah, I think it's just such an amazing moment seeing a different liquid come out of a can. I think I've often done it with like orange juice or something. I've been playing around recently with doing it with a drink that's really cold. So like a pina colada is what I've been playing with. So they hold onto a can. And I think normally when you pick up a can, you expect it to be about room temperature, maybe cold. When you hand someone a can and it's like ice cold, that I think is still a nice moment. And also different textures of liquids, like opening it and pouring out a sort of slushy liquid is a really nice moment. I used to do it with in an adults only show. I used to do it with a certain liquids that I would force them, which wasn't necessarily a drink. It was, I don't know what's the best way to describe it. Anyways, I used soap inside the can because it comes out with this gloopy texture, and that was just such an amazing moment seeing this horrifying thing come out of a can. But yeah, I use it was either shampoo or clear soap or something. But it was an amazing moment in the show. But yeah, the idea of having a different drink inside of a drink, I think, is just such an easy to understand concept. And that's my number 6. It's in every show we do. It's in every show that I perform as a solo performer, certainly.
I think it's a great trick and such a great choice. I remember first seeing it. A friend of mine, Dean Levy, who we've had on the podcast, actually showed it to me. And it's really interesting because effects like that, it's one thing seeing it on a trailer and going, that's such a cool idea.
Yeah,
and then experiencing it for yourself.
I think when you hear the audience's reaction to it, I think it really speaks for itself. I know people that perform it close up, which blows my mind. Kieran does. Kieran's a prime example of this. Kieran will go out close up with like 10 of these in thermoses in his bag, and he'll do the full tea routine to people, which I think is very funny. If anyone does want to see the thing which we were talking about with the soap, I did a interview with an adult actress called Lily Phillips, which some listeners may have heard of. And if you go on YouTube and you type down magic dates, we did a pilot episode for this like YouTube show with a production company. And the only episode which has come out, we filmed 3 or 4. The only episode which has come out as a pilot was this one with Lily Phillips. So go watch it. Annoyingly, she became very controversial after this video came out. And no brands would touch it, which is unfortunate. So we're still looking for a brand to sponsor that show so we can make more of them. It's a really fun concept for a show, and I want to bring it back. But I'm trying to find the right brand that will happily let me use that as a pilot. But a lot of brands won't touch her, unfortunately. But yeah, if anyone wants to see why that thought process was that, you can watch a video there, and it's very funny as well.
And moving on swiftly. So we've got number 7 and number 8 left. So what did you put in your 7th spot?
Number 7, I put Pegasus Page, which is if people don't know, it is a version of a book test that sort of has elements of pseudo-hypnosis to it. I can't remember, unfortunately, the originator of this, although I researched it the other day. But the effect is you have someone look at a book, they can examine it, and you have them remember a page number and also the first word on that page or a word on that page. You then give them the book and you're able to tell them what the page was, and you ask them to go to the page number. And when they go to the page number, they see that the page is missing and that the page was never there. It's been torn out. And then inside your pocket or an envelope or wherever, you take out a page and it is the exact same page from that book. I believe I got the order of that wrong. I think normally you would show that you had the page first, and then it matches the tear mark, kind of in an angle Z moment. It matches the tear mark on a book. I believe, Jamie, that you've just Googled to see who originated it. Have you got an answer?
So it was originally in the Jinx, and that method required you to take a normal book and doctor it using transfers, basically number transfers, without giving too much away, and that was the original sort of method. And then I know Jorge Garcia had a version which I think is probably the most popular.
That's the one I use, I think, but I think there's a little bit more to it in arguments, but I think that's the one we use. I know someone's put out, I don't think it was Michael O'Brien, but I think he presents it on a trailer. Someone put out a version where you give them the book and they can like flick through and have a look at it. I think that would be the ultimate. I know Dynamo does, or Stephen Frayne, does an amazing version of this effect in his live shows. And I think he genuinely does the most powerful version of this effect. It's combined with some scripting from Luc Jamay, which is a phenomenal piece of scripting, which I think he's now published in some book tests that he's put out. But yeah, I think Dynamo's book test that he does in his shows, I think is the best version I've certainly seen of Pegasus Page. When I do it as part of PK touch routine. We did it for a long time in Insane Magic as an opener to our show, just a very direct version of Pegasus Page. But now I've taken it and I do it in my live show with PK touch. So I have them. I do all the touches, and then I also have one of them sends the words and the page number to the other person. So it's like they're reading each other's mind, which I think is a really nice presentation of it, as opposed to me being the mind reader. The focus is on them for that whole routine.
Well, I think that's a great choice in at number 7. Again, very different to everything that you've put before it. So I think that's a great choice. Now we've got one more trick. So I'm going to guess that we're going to go stage again, because you said we're going back to stage. So what is in your final spot?
Can we do some honourable mentions first?
Of course, yeah. We always love an honourable mention.
Amazing. Before we get to number 1, I think all Tenyo tricks. Like if I was actually stranded on a desert island and you gave me every Tenyo trick, I'd be very happy just playing with them by myself. I absolutely love Tenyo tricks. I think that they are. I'm a big fan of illusions, especially recently. The method to illusions as well, and I think that Tenyo is a great example of seeing the method of illusions without having to spend a budget on illusions, right? Because, you know, a lot of illusions cost 10, 20,000, whereas a Tenyo trick is 20 quid, which people think Tenyo is expensive, but it's for the method you learn and for the enjoyment it brings me, I don't think they're expensive. But I love them. We actually have, so my flatmate is my business partner, Cameron Gibson, and we have like a little shelf just with Tenyo tricks on it. So when someone comes around, we've shown them a few Tenyo tricks because I think it's just the most amazing, nice pieces of magic. A lot of people think the Tenyo is just for the person who buys it. I actually think that they can be performed in the right moment. It's very much when a friend comes over to visit, that's when the Tenyo tricks come out. Say, oh, let me show you some magic, because they are some of the most powerful puzzles, I guess is a good way to say it, because the method is just so out there and so satisfying. So yeah, I love performing them to like good friends, and also it's such a nice experience buying a Tenyo trick and learning the method. If they did an advent calendar, that would make me so happy. Like imagine an advent calendar with like a little Tenyo trick in each one. I mean, it would be like £4,000, but I'd buy it. I think growing up, my favorite was always Invisible Zone with the pen where it goes in. And an element with that was that it was so hard to find it for such a long time. And I had no idea how it worked. So like the idea of pushing, I just had no idea how it worked. And then I eventually bought one when they re-released it, and I learned the method. And the method is, as with any Tenyo trick, is so satisfying. A lot of Tenyo tricks, I understand how they work because I can do them, but I don't actually understand them because they just work. And I think Invisible Zone is a good example of one of those. Another one is Mr. Danger. I still don't know how it works. I've got it, right? I know how to do it, but I don't know how it works. I don't understand how it's actually possible. Even though I've seen it from the inside as well. I've seen people, I've seen the exposed version of it. I still don't really understand the physics of how it works. So yeah, that's a good one. Crystal Cleaver is an amazing trick. There's so many. I could go on for hours about Tenyo Magic. I love it. It's great.
Yep, I think you're right. I remember having Invisible Zone. I had the Marvin's Magic version,
yes,
which had the little red door, and I absolutely loved it. Now, you've given us Tenyo tricks as your honourable mentions. Do you have any others?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this one too much, but Toxic Plus is just, if anyone doesn't know it, it's a trick with your calculator where everyone makes a sum together and your sum is something very special. It's a very special number or whatever. I think that doing the date and time prediction as a calculator effect is the most powerful trick of all time. The only reason it's not on my list is because I have such a love-hate relationship, in the same way that I spoke about double cross, where a lot of people do it. Every stage performer does this effect, including myself, which is a shame because when I'm doing ships and I'm doing shows where people will likely only see one magic show in that year, let's say, I don't mind doing it. However, at a fringe festival, we will never do this effect because the chances are, if people are seeing one magic show at the fringe, they're probably seeing a few, they're probably seeing 2 or 3, and the likelihood of them seeing this effect in more than one show is quite high. So we'll never perform it at the fringe. But that's not to say I don't do it in elsewhere in other shows. And also I've started doing a walk around recently as well. Not in every table, but as a top table effect. It's so good. Or as a hosting piece, when we've got to jump up and do something. Last night, we went to a comedy night just to support it. It was 2 minutes away from my flat, and we wanted to watch some comedy. We went there, and the host came up to me. We sort of knew of each other, I think. I've never met before though. I said, how's it going? And he was like, oh, I'm actually really upset. One of my acts just dropped out. Now again, didn't have anything on me, but I just said to him, I was like, well, if you need it, we have like 5 minutes, it's ready to go. And it was that kind of comedy toxic routine because it's on my phone. And I was like, oh my God, that's so kind of you. But we didn't do it in the end, which is fine. But yeah, it's just such a powerful piece of magic. You need no warning. You can do it at any time. I do think it is one of the best tricks of all time. The other problem is you can't top it, right? That has to be the finale because it's so powerful. And we did do it in our show in Australia. We did it as our any of our shows always have like two endings. We have an ending and then we have an encore. So we have the finale, the final trick, which quite often is like a nice emotional piece where we talk. And then we say our thank yous, and then we have our full circle trick, our encore, our big moment, which really wraps up the show, which I think is important for a few reasons. And I could talk about like staging for a long time. But the main thing is if people are clapping, right, at the end of your show and their hands are above their head, right, like they're clapping with their hands above their head, that is the ultimate applause you can get from someone sitting down. The only place to go from here is to stand up. So if we can get them to there in our like fake ending, then they're standing up in the real ending. So we always have two endings. And quite often Toxic Plus was our like fake ending, and then we'd follow it with a full circle moment. The issue is Toxic is just so powerful that we had to move it after the other ending, which is a shame. But it's now not an insane because, as I said, it's too much of a common trick. But I do it at tables and I do it in my show in a slightly different way. It's such an amazing effect. Yeah, that's my honorable mention. But it doesn't make it to the list because too many people do it.
That's what I was going to say. Like, considering you just said it's a hard trick to top, we've still got one position. So you are about to top that trick. Yeah.
So this last one is actually what I was saying. We had to kind of move around Toxic. So this last one is a routine which myself, Cameron Gibson and Elliot Bibby came up with as a finale to our show. And it has been a finale to our show for the last year or so. I think we've done maybe 60 shows as this is a finale. And it is a routine which we've worked on a lot, probably more than anything else in our show, called Heist. The trick is, at the start of the show, we hand out a box. And at the end of the show, at the start of the show, we hand out a box and we say that the contents of the box will be very important to three people in the audience. And towards the end of the show, we borrow three items. We borrow a ring, a phone, and someone's driver's license. We hold them all in our hands, and then they all vanish, one after the other. Starting with the driver's license. The driver's license vanish, the ring vanishes, and the phone vanishes. And then we say at the start of the show, we said the contents of that box will be very important. Box comes back up on stage. We open it up, and inside is a sealed mail bag. And inside that is a sort of concertina, which opens up with the ring, the driver's license, the phone. Without any switches, these are then handed back to three audience members. And it's such a big kind of now you see me moment. And it's also such a head, it's a head fuck, to be honest, I think is the easiest way to describe it. And the idea of something being in the box already, something already being in the box, but wasn't in there. Do you see what I mean? Like it's such a weird item to impossible location. And I think the item to impossible location is one of the best plots in Magic. It's so easy to understand. Something vanishes and it's inside a box. But the idea of something vanishing and it's already being in a box, which has been handed out, I think is really cool. When we started doing this effect, we sort of premiered it, a prototype of it at the Adelaide Fringe, because we thought, well, we'll try it out at Adelaide Fringe and see if we can work it in, and then we'll rebuild it for Edinburgh and make it kind of bigger and better. And we struggled with the routine of it for a long time. And originally it was the idea was it was this like wooden packing crate filled with sort of sawdust and stuff. It was this wooden packing crate that would be crowbarred open, and inside were the objects, which I think we really liked the image of. So we built this packing crate, and the necessary other things to perform this kind of mini illusion. And it worked quite well for a while. And then we had this idea out in Adelaide. I think I said to Cam, I was like, what if it was clear and you could see through it the entire time and it was filled to the brim with packing peanuts? That way it's so clear that nothing can get in, nothing can get out because it's literally filled to the brim. Thomas More made us this kind of mini illusion now, and it's a clear case filled to the brim with packing peanuts. Nothing's getting in, nothing's getting out, right? And we pull out the items, there's packing peanuts going everywhere. I think it's such an amazing kind of product we've created, this routine. It's so commercial, so easy to understand. And it is one of my favorite things to perform and that we do perform. We wanted to pull off a heist in our shows, right? Like that was just a nice concept we had. We said, we want to pull off a heist. And originally we started talking about that one of us would get into a box and we would vanish and you would see surveillance imagery, funny enough, of us, I think at the Louvre. This is pre-Louvre heist. But we'd be at the Louvre and we'd be robbing like a painting or something or a diamond or whatever. Which again, kind of funny because now that was the whole premise of Now You See Me. But we were sort of talking about this plot for about 2 years now, the idea of pulling off a heist during our show, because we thought, well, it's a really Now You See Me thing to do, right? And that's constantly what we're looking at, is we want to give people a sort of real live Now You See Me experience. So we talked about doing this heist for a while, and then we became kind of obsessed with the imagery of having lasers across the stage and having to complete this thing, and the imagery of like blueprints and all of the imagery behind the heist is really nice to look at, and there's a lot of theming that goes with it. So we became obsessed with that, and then we started getting this thing made, or we started making it, sorry, I should say the original version with the packing crate, and we were like, okay, well, what could we have? What if it's we steal items from the audience without them knowing? So we all pickpocket items from the audience, and then we open a box and all their items are inside. I'm like, okay, well, that's nice, but it feels a bit too like we're just stealing stuff. We're just nicking stuff from the audience. We don't want to be thieves. We want to be magicians. And then we sort of lost sight of the idea of a heist, because we thought actually the effect isn't clear. There's no clarity as to what this effect is. Let's just dial it down to its bare bones. What is the actual trick? Like, let's just forget the heist stuff. What is the trick? The trick is we borrow 3 items, they vanish, and they're already inside the box. Let's just perform it as that. Like, that is the clearest version of the trick. And for us, because we perform to a very international audience as well, everything just needs to be really clear to understand. So we then dialed it down to that, which is a shame because we kind of lost sight of the whole heist idea, which I think we will bring back at some point, maybe next year or something. I still really like the idea of one of us abseiling down. Like as an opener to a show, I would love for the 3 of us to just swing down on ropes, right, or something. Like, there's so much imagery and theming which could come with it, that we'll bring it back at some point. But yeah, that was the original idea. And then we had this idea to do it with a clear case, and Thomas was the only person we could think of that would be able to create this. And he made it, and it looks beautiful. Like the product itself is just a really nice piece of engineering, to be honest. And the effect is amazing as well. We need to get it rebuilt actually before we take it. I think we're going to take it out to Adelaide with us next February, and we're going to give it back to him at some point because he needs to work on a couple of things, and then it'll be even better, which is great.
Well, I think it's a great way to close out your list. And just looking back over your list, so we had Soaring in Half, Bottle Production, Out of This World, Double Cross, Your Blank Deck Routine, Too Hot to Handle, Pegasus Page, and Heist. That's a pretty interesting list that I'm guessing, just putting it out there, not many people would have had down for you. I'm not going to lie.
Great. Well, if anyone did get any of those right, I'd love to hear which ones you did get right.
You know that Cameron is listening to this and he's got it all right.
Yeah, he probably had. I think he's probably listening to it. I think he might have gone to gym, but I'm pretty sure he's just listening with like a glass to the wall. Like, yeah, okay. I didn't actually run through my list with him, but I think he'd probably guess all of them correctly. I think if he wrote down what my top 8 tricks were, I think he'd get every single one right.
Well, up until this point, Luke, we've given you 8 tricks, but you're only allowed 1 each of the last remaining things. So I want you to imagine that you are about to dig a big sandy hole on your island, and you're going to throw something inside from our industry never to be seen again. What are you going to banish onto your island?
When I was thinking about this question, the idea of escapology came up. which I think will annoy some people. So in our show, I don't know if this will be the one, but I'll explain my thoughts behind it anyways. In our show, I play a character. It's still me, but my sort of character trait is I'm the stunt magician. So I combine stunts and magic. So in our show, I've done things like my version of needle swallowing. I say my version, it's not really my version, but a version of needle swallowing. I throw a knife at someone. I've done the thing with mouse traps, which I did on Penn and Teller Fool Us. Like all of these things that are very kind of like the sort of stunts. Whenever we're coming up with new things, the idea of escapology always gets floated. And I think, I don't know. I think I really have like a kind of love-hate relationship with it. I think the real problem with escapology is everyone knows you're going to get out of it. It's just a matter of time, right? I think unless the jeopardy to it is kind of funny, if it's life-threatening, people know you're still alive, right? People know you're going to get out of it. There's no chance the first time you're doing it. On shows like The Illusionists, and there's an escapologist, and they're doing, Mike Michael's Jaws of Death, right? We know you're going to get out of it because you've done this show 100 times this year already. So I think, unfortunately, as an audience member, it's just a bit of a shame. So I think it might have to be escapology. That being said, I do a straitjacket escape. My straitjacket escape is quite funny though, and it doesn't take itself seriously. But I have seen some people doing straitjacket where it doesn't look like you're escaping, it just looks like you're taking it off. And I kind of feel that way with quite a lot of escapes. You're not escaping, you're just removing the shackles, right? Like I just, I think it's a shame. I think comedy escapes, I think there's a place for them. We open our show with a kind of taking the piss out of escapes. We say this exact thing. We say, the problem is, they're going to get out. You just don't know when they're going to get out or how long it's going to take them. I also think that there's some illusions, like Table of Death, for example, where you're seen to be escaping and then the table crushes you, but you were never in the tank to begin with, and you're on the bed and you're at the back of the audience. I think that ruins it. I think that if you were never there, then there was no jeopardy, and people think, you were never in danger, were you? We've just watched someone else try to pretend to escape for a couple of minutes. I think that whilst it's a nice moment of magic, I think that actually when people think about it after the show, they think, you were just never there. So you were never escaping because you had to run to the back of the room. I think I've got a problem with escapes. I don't know if I'd banish them, but I think I've certainly got a problem with them.
So in response to that, because Jonathan Goodwin is also on this podcast and he will be coming for you, my question is, do you think that the level of danger employed in an escapology routine would change it for you? Do you think that if the audience know that the person's going to get out, that's fine, but the fact that they're being put under so much danger and it's still a really dangerous thing for them to do you think that would sway the way that you think about them?
So Jonathan Goodwin is genuinely probably one of my favorite performers of all time, right? I think there's nothing he wouldn't do that I wouldn't watch. I know he doesn't perform so much anymore for obvious reasons, and he's now focusing on consulting more and script writing and this other stuff which he's doing as well, the more sort of spiritual stuff too, which I think is really interesting. And I think Jonathan was always very, very good at making everything so believable. Anytime he was performing, you watched it, you genuinely weren't sure if he'd make it out on time. Everything felt like it was the first time he was doing it, which I think is really important as well. And it was all a kind of believable level of danger to the point where it didn't work sometimes, I think a prime example, which he talks about quite a lot, is his original escaping from an iron. I don't know if you've seen it, that was on a sheet. That to me is like the perfect escape, right? Because everyone wants to see it go wrong anyways. And I think that an iron hitting you is like the perfect amount of danger that you can escape just in time, but it can still get you, right? And I think in that kind of escape, that's what has to happen. I think Jonathan's a really good example. Jonathan's someone I obviously aspire to, and I look at his material a lot as someone that performs these kind of stunt tricks as well, or stunts, I guess is the word for it. As someone that performs these stunts as well, like he is such an icon of it, and he definitely changed the magic industry a lot. And some of the methods to some of the stuff he does as well is just phenomenal. So Yeah, I think he's a rare example. However, there is certainly this element of I'm going to call them a copy and paste escapologist, right? It's normally these pretty jacked guys with a buzz cut that are on these big Broadway shows, and they're escaping from, it's normally Jaws of Death or some other Mike Michaels escape, like a scorpion, or like he's got a table of death. I can't remember. The Grim Reaper, that's another one. It's normally that. And they escape from something in 2 minutes, the thing crashes down and they're out. And there is such a large amount of these copy and paste escapologists. And again, I don't think the audience buy it. I think it's a really hard sell. I don't think they buy it. I think that everyone just knows they're going to get out. So yeah, I think it's a shame, but that's just how it is. I do like escapes where something kind of goes wrong. In my show, the escape that I do is a straitjacket escape. And the jeopardy, because I think some people perform escapes without any jeopardy. They just say, I'm going to get out within 2 minutes, otherwise the time is going to end. You need to have something. You need to have some kind of jeopardy. When I used to perform it in Drunk Magic, I would have 3 people come up on stage. I'd give them a beer each. I'd ask them to do a boat race. So one of them would start drinking the beer. When they'd finish, the next person would drink it. That was my jeopardy. If they didn't drink, if they finished before me, they won. If I didn't, I won. That was it. And we'd always finish roughly at the same time. Normally, I'd let them win. I'd let them finish the drinks before I got out because it's better. It's a better moment. So that was always but again, they're still not really in jeopardy, but it was more entertaining. I think De Cruz actually gave me that idea when I was working on Drunk Magic as well. Now, when I do it in my show, the jeopardy is that I'm going to send my ex-girlfriend a text crafted by the audience. So I have members of the audience come up with an idea for a text. It's normally along the lines of, I still love you, will you marry me? The last show I did, the person said, I shouldn't have slept with your sister, which an amazing one, great. And I have that person then come up on stage. I say, if the timer, they're the one that puts me in the straitjacket. I say, if the timer runs out, you hit send. I'm working on it at the minute. I'm hoping it will be a thumb tip or a TT or whatever, a thumb tip, we'll call it what it is, on a robotic arm that will take 2 minutes to hit send. I think that would be the ultimate of it. And the imagery of a little thumb tip is kind of funny as well. So yeah, that I think is fun and it makes it entertaining. And the escape is not about me or whether or not I get out to die. I say in the show, it's not life-threatening, but it could ruin my life, which I think is a really interesting line to say. So yeah, I'm not against escapes, but I do think they need to be believable. And I think that these unbelievable copy and paste escapologists can get in the bin. Or they could be buried. They could be buried alive. Why not?
Okay, well, I think you've raised some really interesting points there. Definitely something for us all to think about. So you're going to be the first guest with a banishment where we don't formally banish it. What we're going to do is we're going to put it in the hole, but we're going to put a little white flag there so that we can come back to it when we've had a chance to think about it and to hone it. But I think you've made some really interesting points there, and I really, really love the idea of the text. It's a brilliant choice in your banishment. Now, we do have your book. So what did you put in your book position?
Yeah, I don't really read. I can read, but I don't. Which is it's so unfortunate. I've never really got the hang of it. Everyone I speak to about this says try audiobooks because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a couple of hours of podcasts a day. Unfortunately, I've just never really got the reading bug. I've never really got the hang of it, which is such a shame because so many amazing pieces of magic are in books. So that is unfortunate. And also someone that's written a few books. Again, quite unfortunate that I don't read too many books. But with that being said, I thought about this in a more literal sense, that if I was stuck on a desert island by myself and I got to take one book with me, what would that book be? And it would probably be Carl Fulves' Self-Working Card Tricks, because I could sit there, I could do the card tricks to myself, and I could perform magic to myself. So that's the only reason why I've said that book. I've not read it, but I know, as with all of Carl Fulves' books, I've read moments of it, pieces in it, but as with all of his tricks, it's very much just as many tricks as possible hammered into one book. And if they were self-working, I could entertain myself for hours. So that's why I put that in there in a more literal sense. I'm currently kind of trying to work my way through the Paul Harris Art of Astonishment books. But again, that's very much a thing where I'll just open it at a random page for fun and read something. It's not like I'm not reading it seriously or anything. It's more of a coffee table book for me.
Okay, well, we've mentioned this before, the idea that some people, reading isn't their thing. They can't connect to it. We all learn differently. We're a very diverse group of people, and that's no bad thing at all. My question to you is, what could the magic industry do when it comes to books to make them more accessible to more people? Because like I said, I have your books, and I find the way that your books were written were really interesting. They were a bit more playful. They felt more accessible to more people, I would have said.
Yeah, so that was really important for me, because as someone that struggles with my attention span and reading especially, I wanted to put out a book because I felt like there wasn't really any magic books on the market that were easy to read. I felt like they were all kind of tailored towards people that wanted to read a monologue about why a trick is a trick, and I was theory and stuff. Whereas I thought, well, I want to put my tricks out into a book that's more digestible. And so the things that were really important for me were that it was super accessible for people with dyslexia and also ADHD as well. So what I did was I thought about the books that to me were really easy to read and that I really connected to. And as a kid, it was books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I found them really easy to read because it felt like you were reading what someone else had written as opposed to text on a page. And I use the phrase reading what someone has written, as in it literally felt like you were reading someone's notebook, which I think is much more personal and easy to connect to. So that was a good one for me. And then I also thought about the Scam School book, which they put out, which I have somewhere. And I think it's such a phenomenal book. And I think that everything they did to make it very easily digestible was great. Everything was written out in a very similar style to how my book is written out, in a very kind of, as you said, very playful. The words that are important stand out quite literally. They're in a different font, they're in a different color. And there's a lot of pictures as well, which is really important. And also, because a lot of the tricks in that book were visual tricks, one thing which I don't like about a lot of magic books is that if you don't understand it, you can't do it. That's just it. So every trick also had a video tutorial. So if you couldn't quite grasp the hang of something, because these are visual tricks, you need to kind of see some stuff. If you couldn't quite grasp the hang of it, then there was also a video QR code that came with it. So yeah, that was really important for me. And everything with those books was super important. I'm kind of working on another book. Well, I say working on it. I'm working on the material at the minute. I haven't started writing it yet, but I'm working on a book at the moment, which won't be out for, I'd imagine, a couple of years, which will be more tailored towards stage magic and comedy and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to work out at the moment a way that could be written again that is very easy to digest. It'll probably be a more or less similar style to this one, to my last two books, sorry, but no video tutorials because the stuff that's in there shouldn't need it, I'm hoping. But yeah, so it's yeah, but it's a good point raised. That was a really big thing for me, was making it just easy to digest and sort of making the book that I wish existed as a magician.
Well, I think that's a great book choice and leads us to your final object. So this is your non-magic item that you use for magic.
Yeah, so I've got two things. Number one, which I would imagine this comes up a lot, is FLIC buttons. So a FLIC button, to anyone that doesn't know, is a small, very, very tactile button about the size of a £2 coin. And these were made for smart homes. They're made, these little buttons that are, I think when you first look at them, you think they're expensive, but I think they're actually incredibly cheap when you compare them to the other alternatives on the market. But they're these little buttons that were made to put around your house to complete simple shortcuts for your house. So for example, you could press a button that would turn on your kettle. So you'd wire the button. I say wire, it's obviously Bluetooth, so it doesn't need wiring. But you'd wire the button to a smart plug that could then turn on your ordinary kettle. And that would be one button. And there are people that have hundreds of these buttons around their home to just complete tasks in the house. So one might be, I don't know, a timer for the dishwasher or whatever it is. All these different things. And people have started using them in the magic industry to actually complete shortcuts on their phones. Tom Crosby is a great example of someone that has so many things with shortcuts. If you look at his shortcut projects, there is such an amazing amount of effects with shortcuts, and also a lot of inspiration of how to utilize shortcuts on your phone and use them in your magic. But what I use them for is actually cues in a show. I think when I first started doing magic in stage shows, I had no worries about tech requirements. All I cared about was if people could hear me. I didn't care about music being used in shows or any other tech. As long as people could hear me, they could see me, that was all that was important. And I realized how stupid that was. After working with Cameron Gibson and Elliot, I realized how important music is in shows. If there's any time without music, it just feels so dead. And there's not really any moments in any of the shows that I make now, that we make, as well, where there's normally a track of some kind throughout the show. It completely changes the mood of an effect. It fills time if needed be. For example, when we have an audience member come up on stage and we send them back, there's walk-on music and there's walk-off music, because it just fills that small amount of time and it makes it more of an event. People start dancing along to it or whatever. So music is super important, and also other cues, like we use visuals on the screens a lot as well. And I always use like a FLIC button with either QLab on my laptop or Go button. And recently I've started using it with IQ Pro, which is Jamie Allen and Joshua Riley's app, which is really good. I sort of thought about using it for a couple of years, and I've only started really using it quite recently in the last month or so. It's great. It does everything I need to. I can control the whole show from a FLIC button. FLIC buttons are around £30. I know I said some people think that's expensive. I think they're kind of disposable for me. I go through them a lot. I keep losing them because they're so small. And I'm not the type of person that loses a lot of stuff, but they do just get lost. But they're considering they're £30, your alternative for queuing your own show is a device like an Audio Ape or a Media Monkey or whatever it is. And they're going to run you £500, £600. So when you consider that that's the alternative, I think that £20, £30 for a little FLIC button is great. That was my first one. My second one is gaffer tape. Every show I've ever worked on is built with gaffer tape. Like we're talking about, Cam said as a good example to me yesterday, there's multi-million-pound shows we've worked on that are all held together with duct tape and gaffer tape. You can make anything out of it. If you have to make something work, it's a really good device to have. There's not a single time where gaffer tape's not in our we have a box called like an Ono box and like a prop box. There's always gaffer tape in there. It is so useful. I'm also a firm believer of make something work before you make it pretty. Gaffer tape is a really great way to make prototypes really quickly. If we have an idea for something, we can really quickly knock it up with gaffer tape as opposed to 3D printing or sewing stuff together. If you need a holdout, for example, my whole like Penn and Teller Fall Us routine, all of the method of that, gaffer tape. What else? Yeah, I think there's so many things that we use. We make a lot of holdouts with gaffer tape. I think that's the main thing. If people can't see it, it doesn't matter if it's made out of a really nice material and it's 3D printed or not. It's nice for you, but it doesn't matter. As long as it works, that's what matters. I think every show I've ever worked on, that's been my show or someone else's, it's always held together with gaffer tape. So I think that is probably, those are my two things. Yeah, FLIC buttons and gaffer tape.
Okay, well, both of those are going with you. Both great choices. I know lots and lots of performers that use FLIC buttons, and back onto gaffer tape as well. You mentioned making things out of it, but when you think about tricks as well, you've got blindfold, where you put the coins over your eyes, blindfold, as a way to restrain yourself. So getting someone to tie it around your hands as well. I think it's just one of those universal tools that will not only get you out of trouble, making things, but also just in context of a routine or a trick.
Yeah, it would genuinely be my advice to any performer getting into stage stuff to have a small case of things that you might need. Things like gaffer tape, and also if you happen to be a runner working on a show, so not necessarily the performer, but someone working to the side, my genuinely best piece of advice as a stagehand or as a runner or as a tech is to have a small bag that has these things that could go wrong. It has the fixes to them. it will get you so much more work. You'll be the guy that people remember as a problem solver. Corey, who was our tech, and he's a good friend of ours, he's a prime example of someone that if anything went wrong, he had the solution to it. So a little multi-tool, a bit of gaffer tape, plasters, painkillers for when a performer turns up and they're a bit hungover, and you can give them a painkiller, caffeine tablets, a lighter. This was really important. I think I said it, but like a multi-tool will get you out of trouble so much. I normally, as a performer, always have at least gaffer tape and a multi-tool and plasters on me. I find myself just covered in cuts all the time. I don't know if it's just like me, but I find myself just like bleeding by accident quite a lot. And sometimes this happens halfway through a show. If I've like opened a can of Coke or something, I'll cut myself on it. It's really important that I can fix that really quickly so I'm not covered. I did a show the other day and I forgot the plasters and I had to do this whole like 20-minute set and my thumb was just bleeding. I don't think people noticed the blood. I think what they did notice was me sucking my thumb to try stop it throughout the show. So yeah, it's really important to have a few things like that can just get you out of trouble very quickly. Also just random things, like random tech things as well. But then if you start working with DI boxes and XLR leads and all of this, you end up having to take a lot more stuff with you. But it's good to have a sort of Ono box for tech as well.
Well, I think that's great. I also love the idea that Corey is taking paracetamol for you in case of a hangover.
Well, you know what though? It wasn't a hangover, but we did one show during the Fringe where just out of nowhere, I got a really bad migraine just before the show, which has been one of my fears for such a long time. As someone that gets migraines maybe once or twice a year, it's just the most horrible thing that can, I don't know if you've ever experienced it or if any listeners have, but I think if you haven't experienced one before, it's hard to understand the scale of it. I think people just think it's a headache. It's not. Like when I get a migraine, I go completely blind, so I can't see, I can't hear anything, I can't say anything without throwing up. It's just impossible to function as a human. And I remember there was one show, and just before, maybe half an hour before the doors opened, I could feel it coming on because I'd gone blind in one of my eyes. And I said to the team, I was like, boys, unfortunately, I think I'm going to get a migraine. I might not be able to do a show. Tom Bolton, luckily, he's the most amazing understudy in the world. If any of us have a problem, Tom runs in and he does it. But he unfortunately wasn't available because he was doing a few shows. So we weren't sure what to do. So I ended up just, between each piece where I needed to be on stage, I was backstage lying on the floor. And when I had to be out on stage, I'd come out on stage, I'd deliver the least amount of lines possible. And Cameron and Elliot would take some of my lines as well. I'd get through the group tricks and we'd do it. It was a really hard day. And then I had a nap after the show and I went and I had to do my show as well. And after I completed that show, I remember just being on stage and just, once I'd finished that show, just bursting my eyes out because I couldn't believe I'd just completed, being on stage for 2 hours whilst kind of suffering through a migraine. And I think I feel bad for the audience, obviously, because I feel like the audience got a slightly lesser experience. But as a performer and obviously a firm believer in the show must go on, that was amazing we could do that. And that was only possible through the amazing team of support that I have around me. So Elliot, Cameron, and Corey as well, and Lara, our assistant. Elliot, when he heard I had a migraine, he came up the stairs with a towel and ice and put it on my head. Corey was there with water and paracetamol, and just basically drugged myself up and got the show going. Was all we cared about. So yeah, but it's really important to have these things available, because if we didn't have those things, I don't know if I would have managed to do the show.
Well, I think that's a great way to close out your list. So I'm going to read back your list to you to see what you think. We had Soaring in Half, Bottle Production, Out of This World, Double Cross, Blank Deck Routine. You had your Too Hot to Handle, Pegasus Page, Heist. Your banishment is, well, not quite banishment, we're putting it to one side, Escapology. Your book is Self-Working Card Tricks, and your items were the FLIC button and gaffer tape. I think that's a really cool list.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I don't know what I'd change. I say yes, when we finish recording, I'll probably think of a whole bunch of things that I could have mentioned. But I think for the most part, that's a pretty solid list.
Yep, that's a brilliant list. So, Luke, if people want to find out more about you, where you're at, your shows, your books, your products, all that good stuff, where can they go?
Cool. The best thing to do is to follow me on social media, just at Luke Osey, Luke Osey on everything. And there I always post about what shows are coming up. If you want to come see our show, they're really good shows for magicians to see, I think. They're very fun. They're very commercial. They're very entertaining, I think is a good thing to say. yeah, if you fancy coming to one of those, we're constantly touring and really all around the world. The next shows I believe we have coming up are in Edinburgh between Christmas and New Year's. I think we have shows on the 27th and 28th. That's the period I like to call like the Christmas gooch. It's the weird bit between the two. We're doing shows on those days. So if you want to come up to Edinburgh during the Christmas period and see the Christmas markets and all that, come see our show. And then we're off to Adelaide at the start of February. So if you know anyone that lives in or around Adelaide City in Australia, tell them to come to our shows, because we have loads of tickets to sell. We have I think something along the lines of like 10,000 tickets to sell that month. So if we could sell some of those shows out, that'd be amazing. I won't be at Blackpool this year, unfortunately, because we're in Australia. I'm going to try and make it to the session, and I will have a couple of new products out for Blackpool. That's the plan. We have a few things. I have a gag, like a stage gag that I want to get out. I have the stage routine with Cameron, which we're going to try to put out. There might be one or two little visual things, probably not. And then we have a really big stage routine, which is almost an illusion that we're hoping to put out with an illusion builder at Blackpool. It might not be ready by then. If it is, go see it, go buy it. It's a phenomenal routine, which we hold very close to our hearts, that we're not performing anymore. So feel free to. That will also be coming out. But if you sign up to the mailing list on Visual Magic Store, that's my company, you'll find out about all of this stuff. Mainly stage stuff coming out. There might be a couple of little visual things here and there. And then, as I said, I'll put out a book at some point, but that's probably not going to come for a couple of years. So you've got time to worry about that.
Amazing. Well, that all sounds super exciting. And hopefully, we'll see some of those routines coming from you, especially your blank deck routine. Hopefully we'll see that in the future as well.
I'll send you a video of it at some point. But I don't know, I still perform that at every gig I do, so I don't know if I'll ever publish it, to be honest.
That's fair enough. Well, I think that's a great list. Thank you so much for giving up your time, Luke.
No worries. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
And of course, thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. Do go check out Luke's socials. Please go check out his products. Earlier on, I alluded to a funny prop. He has a microphone that sets on fire, which is very funny. Also, check out his books. They're really, really good, especially if you're wanting to get into social media magic. He's got some really phenomenal visual tricks in them. And of course, go sell out the shows. We need to be supporting each other when it comes to live shows. I always try and make it a thing every year to try and see as many magic shows as I can, and I think if we all did that and we all got behind each other, the community would be a much better place. So do go find out where Luke and his gang are and book out those shows, and of course let him know that you listen to this podcast, because I'm sure he'll greatly appreciate it. Of course, we'll be back next week, but for now, have a great week. Goodbye.
When I perform at gigs, I look at effects that tick these three boxes. Is it super strong and powerful? Yes. Will it last with your spectators for a lifetime? Absolutely. And does it leave them with a souvenir that perfectly captures the moment of magic? If that all sounds exactly what you're after, look no further than the liquid forks. These forks have been custom designed to be able to bend right in front of your spectators' eyes. It's so easy to perform, it's so visual, and trust me, they will honestly keep this impossible object because they've seen it morph in front of their eyes. It literally does the impossible. Not only that, Liquid Forks comes with 50 of these forks in each pack, and it comes with the full Liquid Forks routine taught by the world famous David Penn. Not only that, we have a subscription service. If you guys love these forks and you get through them at your gigs, we now offer a monthly subscription where you get sent a box through every single month at a 10% reduced fee. Like I said, you guys are going to be loving these. You're going to be performing them every chance you can. Trust me, the reactions are second to none. So guys, head over to alakazam.co.uk, pick up a set of Liquid Forks. You will not regret it. Easy to do. Leaves them with a killer souvenir. And to be honest with you, it's not cards, it's not coins, it's not mentalism. It's something beyond belief. Check it out now, guys, the Liquid Forks.